to Health Coach Tip Tuesday. We have an awesome topic for you today. And if you have been putting a lot of effort into social media, but you're not getting any clients from it, or if you maybe just don't know where to start with social media, we are going to dig into leveraging social media to attract your basically ideal clients. So welcome to Health Coach Tip Tuesday, where every week we share tips, tools, and resources for health coaches and professionals so you can confidently grow your career as a health coach or a professional. So what I want you to do today is drop the word social below this video, and we are going to send you our amazing guide called 10 Tips and Tools for Your Online Coaching Business. It's going to be an incredible resources for coaches and professionals out there who are looking to really take their online business to the next level. So drop the word social below. I am your co-host, Piper Gibson, Director of Course Enrollment for FDN, and joining me today is Jen Maleka. How are you, Jen?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here talking about business things with you guys. I mean, if you haven't caught on, if you've been watching the Health Coach Tuesday show for a while, typically the first Tuesday of the month like this is where I come on and we get to talk all things about building a successful practice. I see Kim and Suzanne here. Awesome. So yeah, always join us on the first Tuesday if you want to work on business things. We're going to talk about social media today.
Yeah, and I think this is a great topic because social media seems to be the place to be right now, especially with all of the virtual business that is going on these days. So I really want to talk about how you can leverage social media to attract those ideal clients. So let's talk about maybe for somebody who is just new, who's just getting started, how do you start? Where do you get started when it comes to social media?
So this is such a great topic, and I see some of our graduates on here. We just actually ended a call in our association for our graduates where we talk a lot about these, business type of topics. And one of the things that we're getting ready, that we actually just announced that we're launching, is we are rolling out a social media challenge campaign for our association graduates to go out and help them get visible on social media. And give them the starting point and some of the tools to go out and do some of the stuff that we're talking about today, Piper. So, one of the first things that's really important that I, really like to talk about when it comes to marketing in general is understanding who your ideal client is. So when you're sitting here thinking about, well, should I do Facebook or should I do Instagram or should I do YouTube or what are these other things? Where should I get started? We want to go back and think about like, who is your ideal client to work with and where are they spending their time, because that's where you want to focus your efforts. So if your ideal client is somebody that's on Facebook and they don't actually really spend time on Instagram, then you don't want to waste your time on Instagram attracting the wrong people. You want to focus your efforts, for example, over on Facebook or vice versa. And if you're not exactly sure who your ideal client is, then my tip for you is that to look at who you are as a person, because our clients are a reflection of us. They're usually like a version of us that's 5 or 10 or some other years like behind where we are now in our health journey. And that's what they're attracted to, is the fact that we've been in their shoes, that we've been on the same journey as them, and that we have those unique things to share with them that are going to provide solutions for some of the struggles that they're dealing with, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things I found really beneficial for me when I was really working to get down to my ideal client and where they were hanging out was to do some market research and really nail down where they were and where I should be spending my time.
Yes, exactly. So this is something that you can do, like if you've been working with clients, you could kind of just take a moment to interview them and ask them some simple questions like, well, what social media platforms do you like to spend your time on? Is it Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, something else, Twitter? You also, like I said, look at yourself, like where do you like to spend your time? And this is not only important as it pertains to your ideal client. But also, if you don't like spending time on social media or certain platforms of social media, then forcing yourself to be there is going to show up in the kind of content and energy that you're sharing. And that's not going to attract the right energy back for you either, right? So doing this target market research kind of stuff is really, really helpful to do. And you can always look back at yourself as a source of information if you haven't worked with clients. Or you can interview or talk to some people that you kind of see that would be ideal clients to see what they might say, even though they've never worked with you before, to get some insights and information about what's going on. You know, the other thing I think that is really helpful to think about, because a lot of people stumble on, well, what kind of content do I start sharing? What do I talk about? What do I say while I'm on social media? And so I like to guide practitioners in a couple different ways here. One is sharing your personal story, and maybe not the story that you're existingly living right now, because you maybe have healed yourself and you're farther ahead of where your clients are, but sharing some perspective on that. Like, I was working with one of the practitioners recently, and she loves gardening. And one of her kind of missions in working with people is to bring people from pain into peace. And so I was like, great, let's come up with a social media post or content that you could do related to this, because a big part of what she likes to do is gardening. But at one point in time, she was in so much pain that she couldn't be out in her garden in the way that she wanted to. So it's like, this is what you're going to do. Like, this is where you take like a picture of yourself in the garden, or take a picture of what it is that you've planted in the garden. And you share your story, how kind of say off, 5 years ago, I never thought that I would have a garden this vast, or producing this much vegetables or food for my family, because I was in so much pain. I couldn't actually get out into my garden and do the one single thing that I love to do the most, besides spending time with my family. And through my journey of changing my diet and doing these functional lab tests and doing this stuff, I now have moved myself from pain to peace, and I can spend endless hours in my garden doing the things that I love, and look at what I've created as a result of this. And then in our social media posts, we always want to do some type of call to action to say, at the end, to add something in there that says, like, if you would like to move from pain to peace so that you can do the things that you love too, put a comment below, or send me a message, or here's a link to book a call with me, right? So your story is full of all of these like marketing pearls for you to be using. Another exercise that I'll take practitioners through to help them kind of stir up content and get their creative juices flowing is writing out like their passion and purpose. Like, what are the things that piss you off and keep you up at nighttime, that drive you insane about like our current medical model or medical system? What are the things that you're super passionate about? And those are the kinds of things that you can then share on social media, and you can share them in a very friendly, kind of unbiased way too. It doesn't have to be combative in the way that we share it, but it's opening the eyes and giving people perspective, right? So these are the things that we can pull out of ourselves to create this social media content. And because it's directly sourced from you, and knowing that your ideal client is a reflection of you, it's going to resonate with them. It's going to automatically connect with them when we share things like this.
So for me, sharing our story was a huge part of me working with my ideal client. So we have a lot of people watching. I would love to know if you have shared your story with your community. So if you've shared your story, say me, let us know that you have been sharing your story, and how has that helped you with your ideal client. We would love to know. And if you haven't, what we're talking about is absolutely going to help you today.
Mm-hmm. And if you have any other questions that we're not addressing yet here during our conversation, please feel free to type those in too. We're here to give you guys resources and answer your questions about social media today, or other business tactics as well. So type those in.
Yes, please let us know. Jen, I would love to know, like, once you have maybe somebody engage in your social media, they ask a question or they send you a PM, how do you engage that person? Where do you want to take that person to in their journey from social media?
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, we want to move them through what we call like a customer journey of sorts, right? So The customer journey is, this is also, some people call it like a funnel, but we put all of this content out, onto the internet or into the world in some kind of way. So we're doing social media. Maybe we have like webinars that we're doing, or we're giving talks at local health food stores. And we want to start to funnel those people down into the customer journey, which means like nurturing them, like getting them into a sequence where we're continuing to create connection with them. So we oftentimes will invite them over to our email list, for example, where then you're sending them out regular emails as part of your nurture strategy and sequence. And then we want to get them to a point where we're going to invite them to like a consultation or a discovery call with us, where we're going to make an irresistible offer that is going to provide them with all the solutions that they've been looking for, and they make an investment in themselves ultimately, right? So, part of, when we look at social media, then there's, we want to rotate through some of these tactics. Like, you don't want to be hitting somebody every single time for like, book a call with me, book a call with me, book a call with me. So sometimes when we we put content out there, it's just to create engagement. It's to give them valuable information. So oftentimes those posts will look like, sharing tips, a recipe, tools with them, asking them to comment below with their biggest takeaway from your post, or if it resonated with them, or, to ask, share something that they got out of the post or otherwise, right? So that creates engagement. So we can create that connection with them. And then you can start a conversation with them through that. Like when they leave a comment, you can respond and say, great, I'm so glad that you loved this content. What was your favorite part about it? Or you should check out this other blog that I wrote, or check out this other thing that I did. So we're continuing to provide value in that kind of way. And then we call these CTAs, or calls to action. We have other calls to actions that are a little bit more direct, where we say, something to the effect, like I just gave the example of, like, if you want to move from pain to peace, like I have, and do all the things that you love too, message me or click on the link below to schedule a discovery call with me. So now we're starting to move them a little bit farther down into the customer journey, where we can get them onto a call, which is where we can have a very value-driven conversation with them to figure out exactly what's going on, share with them what it is that we do that makes us unique as functional health practitioners, and then provide them that irresistible offer, which is the solutions and services that we uniquely provide, that are going to be the answer to solving the problems and giving them the transformation that they're looking for. And I would say that as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and having access to functional lab testing, this is definitely a notch on our belt, or leverage that we have, that most other, health coaches don't have. It's a tool in our toolbox. And so this is where we can, even in our social media posts, be talking about some of the functional lab testing, the work that we're doing, the testimonials that clients are experiencing. Then we share that stuff in our consultations, and ultimately that's going to result typically in somebody choosing to invest in themselves and enroll in the services that you offer.
I know yesterday when we were posting on Instagram, we both posted about functional lab testing. So I was like, well, that's perfect.
Exactly.
Totally perfect. So this is backtracking just a little bit, but when someone's just starting out on social media, how do they build a following? Do you have any tips or tools for someone who needs to get the ball rolling?
It starts with friends and family. So we were just covering this again in our training call for our association graduates. And right now what we're seeing, like specifically on Facebook, it's been much easier to build a following and get engagement through a personal Facebook page, which already has your friends and family, probably connected on there. So you can start sharing more about what it is that you do. They're commenting and engaging with you. I mean, some of my first paying clients were actually some of my family members. So don't necessarily write them off that they're not going to be worth it, I guess, or that they aren't an option, because they certainly are. But through that, what happens is when you get your friends and family engaging on like your Facebook post, then your Facebook post starts to get more organic reach. And you guys have seen this before, where, in your Facebook feed, you'll see like, oh, Piper also liked this, or Piper also commented on this. And like, I don't follow that person, or I don't follow that thing or that service, but I follow Piper, and because Piper engaged in that, now it's, the algorithms of the platform are going, hey, you might like this too. So when we get our friends and family to, if we're being consistent about putting social media content out there, getting our friends and family to engage with us on that, it's actually going to organically, naturally, like, reach more people ultimately without having to do Facebook ads, for example. And we can start to grow our following there. And also, we start to, like, show our friends and family what it is that we have to offer, and they can start referring people to you too, right? We've had multiple stories of FDNs who have gone through the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition course, and they had a waiting list of clients just because they were sharing what it was that they were learning through the course on their Facebook pages. And so people were naturally reaching out to them, asking them about this work and getting on their waiting list for when they finish the course. And Instagram's a little bit the same in that, just getting out there and starting to share content on there, your initial, like, following is going to be your friends and family. Of course, I would suggest that when you create your Instagram profile, or if you already have one that's a personal profile, you can go in and change the settings to be a business profile, because when you are a business profile, then it gives you extra tools and resources, like what they call insights, where you can go and see, okay, what is the average, like, gender, age of the person that's engaging in my Instagram post, and what time of day and what days of the week. And then now you can start to cater some of your content according to some of those insights that they're providing. On Instagram, there's a lot of other tactics that involve hashtags and all kinds of things that we can use over there. But from the basic starting point, it's about creating consistency and just getting started. As I was just sharing, is like, imperfect action is better than no action, as I've heard that term before. It's a principle that I try to follow. Being like a self-proclaimed perfectionist, I have to get out of my own way to get out onto social media. And Lisa Sasevich talks about this in her book, Meant for More. Also, I just went through that chapter recently. And it's about getting out there and creating consistency. So you want to consistently get in front of people. And that means, like, you maybe want to have, like, a goal of posting at least once a week. Ideally, you want to get to a place where you're posting 3 to 5 times a week, so that you're consistently in front of people, creating this engagement, involving them in social media conversation and comments and things like that, which is going to help you to, again, naturally get more followers. And people will also share your content. That is actually a call to action that you could put in your post. You could say, like, if you know anybody who could benefit from this information, definitely send this along to them. And any Facebook post or any Instagram post or, even Twitter posts and those types of things can be shared to another user fairly easily. So that's another way that, when we create this value and rapport with, like, friends and family or other followers, they will start to automatically reshare our content for us, which is, less work that we have to do, right?
Absolutely. I just did that yesterday. I said, hey, if you know anybody who could benefit from reading this article, please send it their way. So exactly just the tips that you have been sharing. So definitely things that I use in my own business every day.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I'm glad to see that you're applying it.
I am. Well, I learned from the best, Jen. So if you guys are just joining us, drop the word social below this video. We have an amazing guide resource for you today. We're going to send you our 10 tips and tools for an online coaching business. And this is a great resource because it's going to give you some good keys and things that you need to really excel in your online coaching business. So make sure to drop the word social below. Jen, do you have any final thoughts, tips, tools, something that you would like to share about social media and how we can utilize it to grow our business as a health coach or professional?
I think the last thing that I just want to touch on and emphasize even more is just being yourself. One of the things, if you think about health, our health and investing in your health yourself or anybody else's, that there has to be a level of trust that's there. There has to be a level of rapport that's there, connectability. And so I think sometimes we get overwhelmed on social media because we see some of these influencers out there that are posting these, like, professional, photograph pictures, or they're using stock photos, and everything's all super creative all the time. And that's not actually like our day-to-day reality, right? Like, what people are going to connect in more with is you being personable, you being a real person, that they feel like you're accessible, that they can reach out to you. So in general, even if you're doing some of those kind of like higher level type of posting, I mean, I definitely have, high quality photos that I use and things that I do, but I do try to stick to this principle, is that, at a minimum, 1 out of every 4 posts should be something that's a little bit more like authentic, raw, and personable. So like a picture of you with no makeup on, like, exercising, or a selfie, or a picture of your dog or your cat or your kids or your family, that's going to show them that you're real. Also, statistically, people actually like some of these like more raw footage photos more than they do some of the polished images that seem unattainable. And we can still do high quality raw image, raw footage of whatever we're doing. Like, you still, you don't want the photo to be too light or too dark so they can't see what's happening. You want good lighting and those types of things, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And perfectionism can be very paralyzing. So we just want to be personable. And this is, like I said, it's as a self-proclaimed perfectionist, like, I really have to get out of my own way with this. So one of the things that I do with my content creation is I do a video almost every week that goes along with my blog, that goes on my YouTube channel, that goes on my Instagram, my IGTV. And I made a deal with myself when I started doing videos that I was only going to shoot them once. It was a one-take deal, because I would overanalyze every little edit and thing about it if I allowed myself to redo it. And so sometimes I stumble over my words. Sometimes the cat or the dog is like making noise in the background, or the doorbell rings. But like, all those things, again, make us real as people, which makes us more personable and attainable to the people that are following us and looking for that help. Like, I think about some of those bigger influencers in our industry, like Dr. Mark Hyman, or, Chris Kresser, or Josh Axe, or like Paul Saladino, or any of those people that we might be following. And do you really feel like you could reach out to Paul Saladino or some of those people and ask for help? Like, we know that they have people behind their social media platforms. They're not accessible. So be personable, put the perfection to the side. Imperfect action is better than no action, and just get out there and start doing it.
That is a fantastic tip. And I love that, because yes, I will have to record a video 43 times before I decide that I'm going to use it. So I love that. Love it. Well, thank you, Jen, for joining me today. Make sure that you join us next week for Health Coach Tip Tuesday. We have an amazing 2-part series with Reed Davis. He will be here next week and the week after. I promise you will not want to miss it. So make sure to mark your calendars. Make sure to drop the word social below this video. And thank you, Jen, for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. I hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday.
Yeah, fantastic Tuesday.